Welcome everybody to I the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's reading we're looking at all things related to colour. So I really wanted to do a reading like this because I found increasingly as I've been reading cards, probably in the last few weeks at least, that I've been drawn more and more and more to the colour that I see. I think that the colour is an incredibly evocative way for spirit to speak to us. It speaks to us artistically, it speaks to us in terms of energy, spiritually, across the whole rainbow, so to speak. So I wanted to have a look at what your colour profile, your soul, your spirit, your personality's colour profile might be, and what that can tell you about opportunities around for you, about how you can use your energy, and about your highest good. And so pretty much everything that we're going to be looking at in this reading will have a colour focus to it. There's only probably a couple of decks that near the end won't specifically have that, but which are very colourful energy and drawn it in a different sort of way. So that's the idea. Colour is also very much connected to various sort of spiritual systems, or a soma, to the colours of the Sephiroth in the Kabbalah, to the colour of the chakras and so forth. So we'll just touch upon whatever Spirit wants to talk about in relation to that and to you, and how you can best use your energy. So we have 3 piles to choose from. You're more than welcome to go to more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. And what I did was I intuitively chose 3 cards from the Secret Language of Colour deck, which will also, there's another couple for each of these under there. I don't know what they are, but these were 3 colours that drew to me intuitively for this reading, and so, or this set of readings. So that will be part of the colour palette. So if you're drawn to a colour in particular, or a couple of them, and that tells you want to go to 2 readings, that's fine. There may be other ways that you choose, like the number of the deck. I know that, or the number of the reading. I know a number of people do that, and that's fine too. But if it's of any help, the energies to start with, for pile number 1 is watermelon, and that talks about having fun with your inner child. For pile number 2, we have lemon, which talks about accessing innovative thinking. And for pile number 3, we have jade, which talks about taking action. There are other analogies and allegories for those colours in other systems as well, which, as I say, we'll look at. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to see what your colour profile is and what it says about you, the timestamps, as always, are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So we have watermelon, brown and mauve. The associations of these colours in this deck: brown is about establishing boundaries, watermelon, as I said in the introduction, is about having fun with your inner child, and mauve is about enjoying clear hearing. So there's a few things in your profile before we get to the tarot that this could be talking about. Now, for some of you, this could be talking about getting in an access to, possibly through clairaudience. You may have clairaudience as a psychic gift, but otherwise through really paying attention to your environment. Healing some pain, I think, and coming back to joy from establishing boundaries around you, possibly from something in childhood or from patterning, emotional patterning that's around you, because it's interesting to have brown and watermelon together here with what they mean in this particular deck. These 2 together suggest to me that some of the people that's come here, there's something in your energetic profile where you want to connect with people. You're very much about communication, about connection. You're also very much about connection to the divine and to the spiritual world. But there's a wounding in you, potentially, a lack of boundaries, or the risk of wounding as you try and enjoy that and connect to that, of not always being able to filter out the more negative energy, or the energy that could be problematic for you. And I think for some of you that sort of was ingrained very early in childhood. I'm getting that for some of you, you were probably incredibly psychic when you were young, incredibly able to see what was really going on in family dynamics, and possibly as a result of that, you either merged too much into particular family dynamics in a way that took away some of your joy, or you may even have been a bit isolated within your family if you're a truth teller. So there's definitely a pattern here, or an imprint here, of being very psychically attuned and wanting to have joy, like looking upon life as something that should be joyous, but knowing that it's not always entirely safe, that when we are in the material world, we are dealing with other people, 3D sort of issues, we need boundaries. You can be very free, in fact, when you are in the spiritual realms. But when you are in Malkuth, in the Sephiroth, in Earth, in the Kabbalah, which is sometimes associated with brown, you are in the 3D. And keeping that innocence and the fun when you're trying to balance the very high and divine, and then also the very earthy and practical, that could be one of the challenges that you deal with, but it could also be one of your great talents. The other thing too is that the color purple is in fact the way from moving in the Kabbalah, the boundaries that you need. The foundation beyond that is the color purple, so that's Hesod. So from when you move from earth to the foundation to moving into the divine realms, this is showing that you, with the way that you listen, you hear and you communicate, that's how you connect and you can understand what it is that's happening in the 3D compared to what it is that you're trying to do in your spiritual pathway. And then there is the capacity for you to discipline yourself when it's necessary with watermelon, because watermelon is in the red color suite, and in the Kabbalah for there, that is for Gevurah. So that is discipline, how we discipline ourselves. So there's a kind of a sense of you've come in with this beautiful inner child. There is a sense of wanting to have fun. There is a sense of the higher order realms and what the spirit should be doing. But you know that you have to draw on some of these energies to communicate with the divine and get the discipline you need to have the boundaries that you need. I think for some of you, you may be empaths. And so you may be drawing in energy from people, and you need to establish those, because otherwise you'll get overwhelmed and you'll lose a lot of the joy that you're trying to get. So it's an interesting balance of sort of innocence and connection and communication, but grounded and having some discipline to ground it. So you're an interesting balance of almost the Fool in the tarot and possibly either the Hierophant or even something like Judgment, the kind of heavier sort of energy. It's how you balance those two things. In terms of chakras, we're talking about the root chakra, how you feel secure, and we're talking about the sort of either crown chakra or third eye chakra. Purple can sort of sit and mauve can sit in either of those sorts of areas as well. So, and brown I feel is almost the next level down from the root chakra. So there's just that sort of sense of what is the distillation of your innocent joy, spiritual happiness, all of that in the material world. How do you protect that? Seems to be a big part of your profile, is working out how to do that. So let's ask the tarot, what energy in your soul is being shown by this color palette at the moment? What should you be focusing on to best use those energies? The sort of distillation of discipline and understanding and gravitas, really, with joy and innocence and inspiration and spiritual connection. So you're kind of at either end of the spectrum, really, both in terms of the Kabbalah and also in terms of the chakras. You're very grounded, but you're also very joyful. But somewhere in the middle, I think there's some pain to deal with, and how you balance that off. So let's just see what the tarot has to say about how best to use that energy at the moment in your life, pile one. Okay, so I said there's a part of you that has an energy a bit of the Fool, and I don't mean in being foolish. That's not what the Fool is about, as people who are familiar with tarot will know. So this is not about being foolish, but this is about sort of wanting to have that innocence, hearing and connecting and wanting to bring something in and getting back to that sense of I can move forward, I can do anything. But you are feeling constrained at the moment. You've got a potential creative or romantic dream around you that you really want to get going on, but there are constraints on you that you want to free yourself from. You've actually kind of withdrawn a bit. Seven of Crystals is like the Seven of Pentacles reversed. There's been things I think that you've tried to do with this sort of youthful exuberance and that sort of connection to the divine, but when you've tried to materialize it, you haven't felt that you could do it. You felt that you had to sort of step back. You felt constrained by other people's requirements and so forth. The reality about this is that the key, I think, is the watermelon color on two levels. One is its meaning within this particular deck, which is to get in touch with the inner child again. Open up that energy, see what it is that you wanted to do, because there's something very valid in your creative principle, your heart, the inner child. But it is also then using the other color energy within that, which is discipline. Instead of other people deciding for you what you should do and constraining you, it should be you. You should take the reins. You should make the decisions. What is emotionally important to you, important enough to be careful about the timing that you do, and to liberate yourself from what might be the more sort of heavy and leaden aspects of life that could weigh you down and so forth, so that you can actually start to sort of come out with something that you achieve. Really interests me with the devil reversed here with this energy, because the devil reversed is almost like looking for freedom, but I feel like it's freedom in a very old school psychological, or not psychological, but philosophical way. People nowadays talk about freedom as, the freedom to do whatever you want. But that's not the energy of this. You want the inner child, you want the freedom, but you want the discipline to deal with boundaries and with proper spiritual practice. And that, in fact, you have within your color palette, within your soul, that a more old-fashioned view of freedom, which I actually think is probably a more accurate one spiritually, which is that freedom is really freedom from the things in the material world and within our egos and within our shadow that would limit us or connect us to the wrong energies. So they used to talk about freedom as if you could eliminate sort of greed and ego and, inappropriate competition and, desire nature in a way that was sort of very selfish and all that. If you could actually eliminate those things, you were free of them. They were the things that tended to entrap in some way and slow down the spirit from becoming true to who it was. I feel there's a real core thing here for you, Pile 1. I like that if you get in touch with your clear hearing with the divine and back in touch with your inner child and what you really wanted to do, who you are on a heart level, then that actually allows you to take the reins about what the boundaries are, rather than, I think, maybe at the moment the world, the people that you're around or whatever, doing that and making you feel you have to withdraw from what it is that you're trying to build. So that's how I think you can use the energy. So let's see what might be missing. What could you also bring in terms of sort of actions, theories, thoughts, whatever it might be, even things that could point to other sort of parts of the colour palette. Okay, so there's actually quite a lot of swords effectively. In this deck it's daggers, but that's swords. Then we have the Page of Crystals, which is a little bit more of this sort of earthy pentacles energy, which feels more in the brown spectrum. So that is the probably lesser energy that you're using at the moment. You're sitting much more in this trying to balance your inner child with the sort of disciplined approach to be aligned with the divine. But there is maybe a little bit more of what this means in the material world that you need to think about. That might need to be where you put your thoughts. What are the boundaries, the material things that you want, and so forth. But there's also what this is saying, and there's maybe some study too with the Eight of Crystals, like studying how that works in the material world, understanding that a bit more, understanding the people that you're dealing with and understanding what is motivating them so that you can differentiate it from what motivates you for that true freedom I was talking about. So there is a little bit more emphasis to the brown tones, or interestingly enough, sort of that sort of level, Malkuth, as I say in the Kabbalah, is kind of all colours. It's both brown and it's also all colours of the rainbow. So there may be a sort of tilt here that you are keeping your palette a little bit too much in the sort of root chakra, the sort of like what makes me feel secure and what makes me feel divine, but not enough in all the colours that are in the world. So you might be self-limiting a bit. The other side of this is with the Three Daggers card, so the Three of Daggers or Three of Swords reversed with the Warden of Daggers, which is effectively like the Queen of Daggers, and then the Page of Daggers. I feel like that's suggesting that you're not communicating outwards. You're hearing, and particularly spiritually, but you're not communicating outwards what your vision is. You've sort of felt you had to hide away a bit because you're different, or because you felt you didn't have the boundaries, or because you're picking up a lot from other people and it's overwhelming you. So having a plan of action for how you communicate what you believe and letting go of the pain that has come from the past is important. And this feels very much in the sort of upper ends of the chakras in terms of color. So you've already got the sort of the purples, but I think, you know, like the throat chakra, blue energy, so how you communicate, that kind of thing is important. And possibly any of the other spectrum of the purple, as I say, or even to the white, there is a sort of a sense of almost from the throat upwards in your body. There's a lot that is about your sense of safety, the root chakra, and your sense of what you're protecting and trying to keep boundaries around. But there could be a little bit of more of an emphasis on the color palette, which is about thought, which is about the intellect, which is about how we communicate. There is definitely a sense here of look into what the material world is and work out how to communicate with it. That will release a lot of pain, because at the moment it's like all of this is very internal and you're taking it in rather than expressing it. So I think things in the blue sort of areas, that's important. And interesting with the Kabbalah, blue is about mercy as well too. So a little bit of, you know, mercy for yourself, because I think you've given yourself a bit of a hard time. That's the feeling that I get from this. Okay, so let's get you some different color help. So we're going to start firstly with crystal chakra deck. So this is both crystal energy and chakra. So we're going to have the colors, so that we may find that some of this this is about healing energy for you. So it will be interesting to see if we get any blue or upper chakra energy with this, or whether there's sort of other things that Spirit wants to point to get you to heal this pain energy and whatever this was showing that you're trying to protect. So we have the heart chakra and the crown chakra. So the crown chakra very much connects with purple already. So you're very much connected there. Interestingly, with moonstone, that to me gives us another clue, because it shows us some prophecy in what you can do. Moonstone is the stone of the Archangel Gabriel. So it probably suggests the Archangel Gabriel is a good connection for you, but it is about prophecy. So you are able to see what is coming. Your clear hearing, that those sort of clear senses that are, I would think, telepathy and things like that you would have. So that's part of the thing, your connection, but there is also your heart. And it's interesting that we didn't sort of necessarily get cups. So it didn't say it was missing, but it isn't showing up here. It's sort of like, I think, being protected. I think you're protecting your heart. That's why we had like the page of cups there, but you're protecting it at the moment. You're not letting it free. So green sort of level colors are important for you as well. So the heart chakra here with green aventurine is about prosperity and transmutation. We have some affirmations. I transmute lower vibrational energies into higher ones, and I attract prosperity into my life by believing I deserve it. And this is part of it. There's some dream that you're protecting. You're holding yourself under quite strict regulation to protect that inner child, and you're kind of listening out into the environment because it just feels like something's hostile. The boundaries aren't right. But linking into your heart chakra to hear that child again, hear what you care about is important, because that will then help you decipher, I think, the prophecy and the information that's coming from the crown chakra. With moonstone, we've got travel and astuteness. The affirmations are, I choose to work astutely and I travel astrally in my dreams. So yeah, you go into the upper realms really easily. You're very much in the higher chakras, definitely, color-wise and more generally. I think the thing for you is what you do when it's back in earth. And I think the clue here is what is true to your heart, because then you can kind of ground that almost in a business plan almost, and in what you study and what learning you do about the earth. That will then allow you to get an intellectual understanding of how to deal with things, how to process that energy. Because I think you protect your heart so much that that's the way it has to go. It has to come at you from a combination of some downloads spiritually, but even more so through having the kind of grounded ideas. Like you have to convince that, and then if you convince that, then your heart will open and you're able to let that kind of color spectrum in and that kind of energy in. Okay, so we also want to see what power energy you can bring in. So if you're working with this particular color profile, what power energy color-wise can you bring in? Ivory, charm, finesse, poise. See, this is part of it too, because you do hold yourself in really strict regulation. This is the Gevara side of the sort of red spectrum, and also how that kind of then makes the root chakra feel safe. You look as though you hold yourself to very specific ways of coming across to other people. And there's nothing actually wrong with it. You actually do it very, very well. It's just that somewhere in there, the sort of inner child, the fun, the heart is being lost a bit to the environment that you're in. So I think this is why you've got to kind of study the environment a little bit more. You've done quite a bit to be able to come across in this way, but what is that doing? Work out what that is doing on a philosophical level to limit you. Like, look at what does that mean in terms of freedom? And peach. Yeah, there's something creative. And in fact, it's interesting because it sort of feels like watermelon there, which feels like the red of the root chakra, is kind of a little bit merged with the peach, which is more like the sacral chakra, which is creativity. So creating something. But you do need beauty, comfort, and serenity. There's something, you've been hurt, or as I say, you're protecting a really beautiful inner core, but you're in an environment where you feel like you're not sure how you can express that and what the costs of that are. So ivory connects you also back to Keter, it connects you back to the crown chakra. So look to that first. You are very, very clear senses. You know, you're very much in that sort of space. You really do connect. But then there's sort of something like, what could you create? What would you create? This is a bit like using the crystal energy. So peach probably more than brown. Like what could you create that's material that would make you feel more comfortable and secure and serene? Like what would release that sort of mental energy so the inner child can run free without being worried about the implications of boundaries and how others are going to respond. Okay, so we also want to look at 5D color energy. So what does your 5D self want to tell you? Flourish. Conditions are perfect for growth and expansion in business or situations you're passionate about. So this is really about all the colors. Like that's the sort of sense of maybe the Malkuth energy as well too. It's like you are putting a premium on what will make you feel secure and under control and spiritually aligned and materially grounded. But there is more. There's creativity. There's the sort of mind, you know, there's the heart. Flourishing is bringing all of those together. So there really is a pathway for you, and it is to go to freedom. And it's interesting with the colours here because it is nearly all the colours, but I feel it is tilting towards that inner child, towards the sort of like the reds and to some degree the mauve. So it is picking up that you are very much in this space, in this tree, which is very much about your sort of creative inner self. But you do need the communication, you need the sort of the heart, all of those things to sort of provide the nourishment to allow you to fully manifest that energy for yourself. Okay, so we're going to finish up with three things. Firstly, we're going to get you a couple of goddess or archetype energies to support you. Then we're going to look at a little bit of astrology and numerology. And then lastly, we're going to do something that could be just a bit of fun by using a fashion oracle, because I thought fashion people are into colour probably as much, if not more, than most sort of industries in the world. So it might be a good way to close out this energy. But firstly, modern goddess or archetype energy for you. Iris, again, all the colours of the rainbow and very much about communication. So this is meant to get you more in connection with the other colour energies, the other parts of your soul, how they connect to a childhood dream, I think, or a very early dream, or a very deeply cared about dream. Even if it's one that's come up later in your life, that's okay, but it's one that you're protecting. This is all about communication, inspiration, and all the colours. That's how you flourish. Don't just stay in this spectrum of spiritual purity and discipline and boundaries. Like, think about how you want to communicate in the world. And Hecate. Okay, so she's giving you the power to change. She's giving you very deep knowledge and so forth. You are very, very psychic, I would say. Again, all the purple sort of connecting to all of that. But she also wants to give you power with all the sort of like yellow colors as well too, because you're not giving yourself power. I think that's the thing, actually. That's the other color that you need to bring into the spectrum that isn't really coming up. It's yellow. It's the solar plexus. It's like, who are you? What is your power? Because you're just protecting yourself so much. And I think it's because of, childhood or the work environment you're in or relationships you're in at the moment. There's nothing, you're not doing anything wrong, but you could do more and you could free yourself a lot if you made that determination to do it. Okay, let's just get you a little bit of astrology or numerology energy. Opposition. Yeah, this is you. You're maybe in opposition with others. You're also potentially in opposition with yourself, your own personal freedom, because you're holding yourself to such high standards while protecting the thing that's most precious to you. 6. And you are meant to be connecting with others, community, sort of all that kind of thing. So if you keep that too preciously hidden to protect the boundaries, you'll never create fully what you have every potential to create. And Saturn returns. Some of you may be in that time period. You might be 28 to 30, you might be 58 to 60. But if not, this is about coming into maturity. And it's interesting, inner child. And the weird thing about this is it's saying you need to find how to wake up and use the inspiration of your inner child to come into maturity. It's like it's the one bit that's been hidden away so much that you haven't fully let it flourish. Let's just quickly deal out and find the planets for the opposition, just to see if there's any other clues for you about this process. I've just got to deal out till I get planets. Saturn again. So yeah, one of this is about you keep yourself under very strict regulation. That's what that's referring to. You're almost overdoing the protection of your inner child, I think, is what it's saying. And it's easy for me to say that. I mean, when we're protecting our inner child, we are protecting something very precious to us, but you've kind of overdone it. You're very, very good at it, but you've kind of overdone it. And Venus, yeah, and that's affecting love in your life and joy in your life. You're meant to have more love. You're meant to have more joy. But you need to find the way to reconnect with that and communicate that a bit more within your environment. And you do have great communication skills. You've got all that poise and so forth. It's just you've got to use it for you. Okay, so what we're going to finish off with is a card from the Fashion Oracles. I'm less concerned with who the fashion icon is because, to be honest, I don't know all that much about the fashion world, but I am interested in what they have to say to you. So this could be just fun, it could be funny and amusing, or it could be profound. So take from it what works for you. And you get Gianni Versace. So I do know who Versace is. Very colourful again, all the colours, very opulent. Fun, like there's something fun. Let the fun out. You've maybe taken some of the fun out of life. He says more is more, and I think there's a truth to that. I think the inner child wants more. Your cherished dreams want more. He says, add a touch of super to your look. Superman, supermodel, superstar. Isn't that what the inner child does? When we're children, isn't that when we think we are, a superhero or something like that? There's something in there. There's something really beautiful in there that you've kind of like hidden away, and it's time to bring it out, part one. And he says, be a legend, not a myth. Yeah, so live it. Don't just think about it. Myths almost are transpersonal, and they're almost unreachable, and they're almost just a concept. You need to live it. You need to actually really own it and live it and free yourself to live it. So I hope that is helpful, pile one. I think you've actually got a beautiful colour spectrum, but I think you're hiding quite a bit of it away. So hopefully this will help you bring that out and truly flourish. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile two, to your reading. So you came to the reading with lemon, accessing innovative thinking. We also have gold, attracting abundance, and emerald, calming your body, mind, and soul. This is a very powerful profile, color-wise, I would say. For a start, we have a very strong emphasis on the solar plexus chakra around having the yellow color. In the Kabbalah, that is Tifereth, so it is about beauty, Christ consciousness. It's a connection. It's the color that connects to every single part of the main body of the Kabbalah. So it is the pathway to many things, your personal power. So spiritually very, very powerful. And then emerald in the chakra system is the heart, so connecting to your heart, so there's a heart connection that is very beautiful, that is very spiritually and power-wise evocative. And in the Kabbalah, emerald green is connected to Nesach, which is victory. It's where you have victory. So this is saying that your color profile, your personal power, and your connectivity to others, I would say, and the beauty that you can bring in the connectivity to others is where you have victory. Your heart connection connects to your abundance, connects to what you manifest. You have very clever new ideas that excite people, but you work very much in that spectrum of manifestation, of connectivity, and of the heart. So very, very powerful for bringing in what you would like in the world. Very powerful, I think, for influencing the way that people think and feel. Very dazzling, charismatic sort of energy. Also very emotionally real. It's very real. It comes very much, and this with emerald here is connecting your body, mind, and soul. So there is a connectivity through the heart energy that connects all of it. You are very well balanced. A lot of personal power, as I say, as a result of that. Feels like an alchemist energy as well with the gold, but it's coming through the heart, so the mystical alchemist. Very beautiful energy, this group, I have to say. So let's see with tarot, what is this energy? A little bit more about what this energy is saying about you and what you could do with your particular color profile. So you're definitely a creator. You're definitely meant to manifest. The creator there is the Empress card. You're definitely meant to bring things into being. And it is the energy. That's very much the colouring of the Empress. I mean, right down to the fact that we've got the sort of like yellowy greens there and so forth that are picking up sort of like a combination of those shades. But even in like a classic Empress card, you'll have a lot of like yellows and greens in the sense of nature and so forth. There's a very natural connection for you. Very grounded as well. I feel as though for many of you, this energy, this power, this personal power in the heart, you are bringing it out in something fairly traditional. So for some of you, it may be very traditional, like being an alchemist, that kind of thing. But for many of you, you might work in causes that are very, traditional, or you might, like work. Instead of, say, working in a big corporate, you might work in government, or you might work in a not-for-profit. There's a sense of wanting to create abundance and so forth within a system that has a legacy associated with it. So I think that your energy is meant to bring something into being that has the good side of the Hierophant, the good side of the traditional. So not the sort of stuffy sort of side of it, but the side that has a depth and has a greater purpose. If I was comparing the Hierophant to the Devil, for instance, in terms of organizational work, the Devil feels very corporate, it feels very profit-oriented. The Hierophant feels more philosophical, feels more not-for-profit, feels more regulatory, feels more all those sorts of things. So there's something in this energy profile, your personal power, your capacity to create and bring abundance, that you can do in a very grounded sort of way, in a very, very sort of honourable way, I guess, is the sort of energy that I'm getting from this. You have an idea, but you haven't yet fully brought into being. Aces are blessings, but it's reversed, so you're not yet bringing into being, but you kind of know, and it comes very much from your heart. In fact, I think what happens with you is that it goes from the heart straight to wanting to sort of manifest and bring it into being. You sometimes stumble a little bit on what's the thought behind this? This is why it's kind of important to ground it within a system or something. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. So if you were going to be someone who wanted to sort of have personal power and create something, you would do very, very well if you took that into the traditional industries where that creativity was understood and blessed and given sort of a support. Trying to do it just on your own may feel very much in your heart, but may not. It may fail to launch. So an example being, if you were a novelist, you are the sort of person, because you have real heart and real manifestation ability, who would do very well with traditional publishing, with getting out and getting the distribution. If you did it on your own, you would be limiting yourself. You would be limiting your audience. And I think you kind of know this. So, and because of it, you're just trying to work out at the moment what's your best strategy. You kind of know that you're not doing it on your own is probably not the strategy, and you're trying to work that out, but it's not your go-to thing to think about this strategically. You go from the heart to the manifestation. So I think this is just saying that using a little bit of the kind of almost blue tones, the sort of, and higher order sort of chakras to really work out what is the strategy you want to do and how do you get to this point is important. Because at the moment you're kind of with Chancellor of Crystals, which is like the King of Pentacles reversed, you're not fully manifesting yet what you could manifest. You have enormous manifestation ability, but you're kind of not using it strategically. So it's all there. It's just a matter of having that aha moment that you are meant to be on a bigger stage. You're meant to be sort of in the more traditional industry, which can give you the distribution of your innovative thinking, your capacity to create, all of those sorts of things. So let's ask what could be missing in your colour palette, in your colour profile at the moment. Okay. So this is definitely, it's pointing with a number of daggers, so swords again. It is saying, it's picking up what I've got, that it's not your go-to thing. So you tend to be, and in fact, even looking for the more conservative way of doing things is not your go-to thing, and yet you are going to do well if you do that. I mean, that doesn't mean you have to have a conservative political message or anything like that. It's completely up to you what you believe and what you want to create. But it's kind of like at the moment, the sort of sense of following a well-trodden path to get this out there is something that you're not looking at. You might actually be a bit judgy of that, to be honest. You might sort of feel like that's, not showing the pureness of your art or whatever it is. But in fact, there is material benefits to be made from doing that. Legal benefits, contracts, all of those sort of things. What's missing is the strategic business plan, basically, and as a result you're not getting all the return that you could get. You're not getting, if you're creating beautiful things, they're getting to a particular level and stopping because you don't have like the business contracts in place. You're going to do it in a very honorable, beautiful way, but you do need to have a kind of business savvy about that. This is what this is saying. So the sort of spectrum in color would be things like red for the root chakra, and possibly blue for the throat chakra, possibly also the sort of purple sort of colors for telepathy, connecting with others, making those networks. This feels very much like you are in your own power, in your own heart, and you create wonderful things, but you're not grounding them yet. So I think that's the sort of areas of the spectrum to think about. Not because there's anything wrong with what you're doing, just because there's so much worth in what you're doing that it would be good to get it more out into the world. Okay, so let's get you some healing energy around it with chakra energy. So let's see what else we get around colour for you there, pile 2. So sacral chakra, I mean, it's more creativity. So creativity, you're meant to be creative in some way. And heart chakra, and your heart's important. Like it's not saying you're doing anything wrong in terms of the core color palette here. This adds a little bit more with the sort of orange tones to make it creative, but it really is saying what you do is very, very good. It's very, very high quality. It's just saying that maybe you're underestimating what you could do with it. With the sacral chakra here, with the sunstone, we have luck and radiance. So yeah, you could have luck. You could do really well. It says, I project an everlasting radiance. Yeah, you do. You're so bright. You shine so brightly. And I believe that luck is on my side, and you should. You shouldn't underestimate how far you can take your message, your creation, whatever this is. And with the heart chakra, with emerald, it's friendship and loyalty. See, there are other people who can help you. I think you just are a little bit of a lone operator at the moment, but there are actually connections that can help you. The affirmations are, I am loyal to myself and others, and I seek out healthy friendships. So yeah, there are, as I say, if there's almost a little bit of inverse snobbery of I need to do this all on my own, my personal power, my personal message and my heart is enough, and I should just be able to manifest with that, you're doing yourself a disservice, because in fact, by connecting with others, they're going to see the worth in what you do. You're going to find this a lot easier than you would have expected. Let's get you some power energy, therefore, in your color spectrum. What would bring you more power? Grey, business, duty, obligation. So it's saying you're probably not like hearing this. You'll probably go, oh, why would I want grey? But grey is the business side of it. The interesting thing too is that grey is Chokmah in Keter. So it is wisdom. There is a wisdom associated with this, but it is almost dispassionate. It's almost detached. So again, if I was to look at this as someone who was a novelist, for instance, it would be you have written something really beautiful. It has enormous potential for a reach if you reach out, but you need to understand the business, the industry, and you need to go through the processes of editing, because no matter how beautiful it is, there are things that will make it more likely to take in the material world. So there is something in that will actually give you more power. Grey is not a bad colour. And tawny. Conflict, physicality, victory. Again, it's about victory. You are going to have victory. All of this is about victory. That's definitely true. And it's interesting too, because in the Kabbalah, victory is green. So you've got the green energy already, and then you've got all the sort of chakra, solar plexus power. But it does suggest that you have a bit of internal conflict with some of this. And with physicality, with what it means in the material world. I do think that most of the people who've come here, if you've come to the right reading, you have enormous creative potential, enormous personal charisma and power, but you've got a bit of a chip on your shoulder about whether you should be in the sort of mainstream or not, and yet that you can do so much within that because you are so talented, basically. So let's get you a 5D piece of advice from the Rainbow Oracle. Guardian. The Guardian stands at the threshold of your progress. May the doors, paths and gates be open. So yeah, it's already there for you. And isn't it interesting? The colouring with that is the sort of blue, the throat chakra, communication. You need to communicate. You need to connect out with others. And it's interesting too, that blue within the Kabbalah is Hesed, which is mercy. I think you have to go a little bit easy on yourself and maybe a little bit easy on others. Like there is a sense here that, as I say, you might think you were selling out, but you won't be selling out. People will understand the quality of what you're doing in whatever this is. So be a little bit more merciful on yourself so you don't take it all on yourself. Open those doors, make those networks. There is a spirit guide around trying to help you do that. So to close out the reading, I want to do three things. I want to get you modern goddess or archetype energy to support you. I want to look at a little bit of astrology or numerology, and then we're going to use a card from the fashion oracles, because fashion is very colour oriented and a good way to close out the reading. So firstly, some goddess or archetype support for you. Demeter, okay, and Frigg. So Demeter, like the colouring, the beads, all of that, is picking up your abundance, your capacity to create. It's another sort of sense of the Empress. I always think that Demeter is like the Empress in tarot. So there's very much that sense of abundance and of nature and of staying true to your nature. I think she will protect whatever your creative or power dream is. That will be correct. The creativity will be protected. But Frigg is all about connecting with others. It's all about networking, connecting with others, family, connections, industries, whatever it might be. And again, it's interesting that she's in these sort of bluish sort of and whiter sort of tones. It's sort of like, it's also connecting back to source. You actually get a lot of your energy from source, but you maybe are so sort of dazzled by the beauty of it all, you're not fully seeing that. So there's connecting back to source, meditation, all that kind of thing, but there's also networking with others. There's something about thought as well. There's something about strategic planning. and understanding the industry or whatever it is that you're doing this sort of work in. That's important, but you shouldn't just do it alone. Your creative idea and ideal will be protected. Demeter is here to protect it, and it will be abundant, but it will be more abundant if you connect with others. Okay, let's have a look at what astrology or numerology energy is around. So, the sun. Yeah, oh my goodness, you are so bright. You may well have Leo or certainly fire signs strongly. I wouldn't be surprised. You're also on your life path. There's no doubt about this. This is not about whether you're doing right or wrong. You're going to do the right thing. You are very much in accordance with your own inner power and your heart. There's no problem with that, Pole 2. It's just whether or not your sun could shine even brighter if you sort of like understood how far you could actually go. Then we have Mercury, yeah, and how you communicate and connect out with others and how you use your mind, because your mind's very clever. It's just that your go-to is your kind of personal power, creativity and heart, but the mind is there. You're certainly able to speak your truth when you need to. We have Saturn. Yeah, you are in the world. So Saturn grounds us in the world. Saturn is a connection to that which is structured in some way and to the traditional. This is why there is something there for you, something that would work for you, if you pursue it. I also feel it's connected strongly to Binah, which is again the sort of like the Demeter, the Empress, the sort of divine feminine. Yeah, there's that kind of connection as well for you around creativity, bringing it into the material world. And waxing crescent moon. So the waxing crescent moon is where you need to let go of what hasn't worked and get back to first principles. So I think that you've had certain times where you could have taken some of this forward and it's got a certain way, and maybe it did work to some degree, but you could work much more. So you have to like let go of some of those sort of almost prejudices. It's not like a major prejudice, but it's just kind of like you're limiting yourself. So let go of, and if you felt, I tried and it didn't work, then your color palette is so strong now. It will work now. You are just meant to start to tilt towards that. So lastly, we're just going to finish off with a card from the Fashion Oracles, because as I said, I think fashion design is an industry that's very color oriented. And I'm less interested in who the person is because I don't know all the characters in fashion, but I'm interested in what advice the person is that they give you. And it could be just humorous. If that's the case, just have a bit of a laugh. But if it really fits, take what works for you. And you have John Galliano. Wow. Very different, very creative. So he says, celebrate the art of dressing up. Now, I think this might be that maybe the pathway for you is to communicate with others and almost dress up, almost wear what you need to fit in with that environment so that you can get what you need from that environment. He says, who says you can't wear biker boots with ball gowns? So yeah, who says you can't keep your creative idea in a more traditional environment? You can. Demeter is going to protect a lot of that for you. And believe in yourself and the rest will follow. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I do think, and I think you do believe in yourself, but I think you also have to believe in how big you can be, because I think you're limiting yourself. So pile 2, I hope that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. So we have the jade colour that brought you to the reading potentially, or that was the choice card anyway, which is about taking action. We have scarlet, which talks about attracting success, and azure talking about protecting yourself. So just on the first step here on the colour energy that this deck talks about, this suggests that your colour palette at the moment is tilted towards success, towards taking the actions that you need to do that will bring in that success. But that in doing it, you need to be aware of the other people around you and the nature of the industry you're in, whatever it might be, so that you protect yourself as well. And also, I think, protect the very pure vision that you might have that you are wanting to work with. Now, in terms of color energies beyond that, in terms of the chakras, we have the heart chakra, the root chakra, and the throat chakra. So that would suggest that whatever this action is, whatever it is that you want to be successful with, is something that's very true to your heart, very emotionally resonant. It's also something which you want to protect at its root level. and you want to communicate it in the right way with the throat chakra. One of the things this makes me think of, in fact, is people who are creative, people who are writers, who are singers, who are painters, whatever that might be. Often what happens is if you don't feel the root chakra, the sort of on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that sort of sense of, is the rent or mortgage paid, is food on the table, if that feels that is somehow at risk and you haven't protected yourself enough, then that will get in the way of you taking creative action of the heart. So for some of you, there may be an issue at the moment about how do you stabilize the foundation of your life and how do you communicate with others to make sure that that is protected so that you can take the sort of action that is closest to your heart. You might want to leave a workplace, but you can't do it till you know you've got something else to go to. Therefore, you have to be careful what you say, and then you can take action when you have sort of found something. Something like that could be going on. The other energies that this could respond to is that in the Kabbalah, red is the domain of Gevurah, which is about self-discipline. So this could be saying that when you're trying to attract success and you're trying to get that stability, your capacity to use self-discipline is going to be important. Again, it could be because right now there are things you need to do to position yourself, move from somewhere that you are, or to position or consolidate yourself in some way. But there is a sense of a bit of discipline here. And then we have blue, that's about mercy. So that's about when you're protecting yourself and connecting with others, being honourable with others, honourable with yourself. And then jade, beautifully enough, is about victory, because that connects with Nesach, which is the Sephiroth of victory, of bringing it all together. So it suggests that a disciplined approach where you are honouring yourself and others will bring you victory. So there's just a sort of sense in your colour palette at the moment that you have a particular aim in mind. And it looks very, very promising that you will do it. But it does look like you need to be just a little bit careful. Your heart is there and what you're wanting to do is the right direction for you. But you just need to be a little bit careful about your foundations, the way that you do it and how you communicate with others in the process of doing it. So let's ask Tarot for a little bit more idea about how this colour palette and energy sort of centers for you are playing out at the moment. Okay, so there's something. Why do I think we've got the red there and we're looking at discipline and we're looking at the root chakra and so forth? It's that there is something that you feel is a bit out of balance. You know what you want to do in your heart, but I think maybe there's something in the environment that you're in that is not quite in alignment with where you want to ultimately be. But on the other hand, there is material things that are helping you. So that whether that's something you're studying, whether it's somewhere you're working, whether it's something that you're connecting with others, even a relationship. The relationship might be a bit out of balance, but you can actually see there's an investment it could get where you want it to go. And you really do want to start moving quickly. But that requires you to resolve something that disappointed you before. So whether it's the environment that you're in right now, and whether this is sort of family tensions or whether it's workplace tensions or something, there are people that will get what you want to do. You are going to get that victory when you take action, and you are going to have to come out and say something or do something at some point. But there is something to resolve first, and it's got to do with the foundations of life. So it's got to do with what would make you feel secure, what would make you feel disciplined enough to do what you need to do. And there's emotional stuff around this. So for some of you, it may be that you're in a very emotional workplace, for instance, and you're holding yourself under strict regulation because there is something to be got from this, and it is going to take you where you need to go. And you can see the direction, but you're just having to be a bit careful at the moment, particularly emotionally. So I feel like this sort of sense of discipline coming from the red is around emotional discipline, around not showing your hand too much, because I feel like there's a lot of people around you who don't have that discipline. And you're having to protect yourself from that energy and protect your heart from that energy. So let's ask what's missing in your colour profile at the moment that could be helpful to think about, or sort of raise the colour profile a bit to help you. Okay. So first of all, it's saying that the red energy, in a way, you're dialing that down a bit because you're more about the discipline than about attracting the success. You're more about, how do I survive in this environment rather than using that energy to sort of like take action and be strong and to move quickly. Because interestingly, red as well on another level and in terms of colour, it's a colour that's often used to speed things up. I think, I'm pretty sure that like fast food restaurants often have red in their decor to get people to eat quickly and move out. So there is a capacity in all of this once you feel secure to move very fast, like with the Eight of Wands, but you're just dialing that down a bit. So it's not necessarily that it's missing, it's just getting it into balance. What you are denying in yourself, I think, is the really upper realms. I mean, you get to, and there is a hint of it here with the white, but I feel like you're getting maybe to this from the root chakra through to the throat, like it's very much around material sort of outcomes. It is about doing what you care about, but it's on that level. But you're actually not dialing up your spiritual connection. It's there with the white there. It connects to Keter and so forth. But you're almost keeping it in your body from the throat down, because with death reversed and also the high priestess effectively reversed, they're energies that are there, and it would help you make a decision. You are more psychically attuned than you're giving yourself credit for, or you're just not feeling safe to trust that. You want much more evidence and so forth. And so that's also potentially dialing down some of your heart as well, because you're not trusting that sort of thing. You want the evidence. You like that kind of thing. And that kind of sense, I think, of yellow here in particular, the sort of solar plexus, I am strong enough to do this. There's a sort of a lack of self-confidence on one level at the moment, and it could very well just be of this moment and because of a situation that you're in. But this is very much Spirit saying you are much more, spiritually and psychically aligned than you're allowing yourself to believe. So it may well be that you're getting a lot of information and energy from those sort of realms, but you're thinking, unless I can have the proof, unless I can see the evidence, I'm just not going to trust that, because, there's some very important decisions I'm making at the moment, and I have to protect my heart, and I have to protect, if it's about a relationship, you might have a lot of your spirit guides might be really banging on your door trying to give you information, but you're going, no, I'm just going by what I can see. Whatever it is, there's a sort of sense where you've almost disconnected yourself from the upper realms of, the chakras and so forth. But it's all there for you. You only have to reconnect it. It's not like you're not psychic or anything. You are. It's just that you're not trusting it for some reason. So let's see how we can bring in some healing energy with the chakras, crystal chakra energy, that could help with balancing your color palette, your color energy, pile 3. So yeah, this is like the evidence should be evidence about power, personal power. Some of you, I'm getting, you might sort of want to manifest something, and you kind of like doubt it until you can see it. It kind of almost blocks the circuitry a bit. Then we also have the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is there, but you're kind of making it more about action. You're kind of like, there's something going on emotionally at the moment around you that doesn't make you feel very stable. So let's see what healing energy we have. So for the solar plexus chakra, we have yellow fluorite, which is about harmony and optimism. Because, there's something disharmonious around you emotionally at the moment, I think, which is impacting this, making you not feel secure about going forward with things. The affirmations are, I choose to have an optimistic outlook, and I am in harmony with nature. Yeah, nature, actually. Getting back to that, taking action, like maybe a really simple thing would be to get out into nature and kind of clear your head and reconnect with your spiritual side. With the heart chakra, healing and evolution with Moldavite. The affirmations are, I am constantly evolving spiritually. And you are. See, this is the thing. You just don't believe it about yourself to the degree that it's true. I mean, you might theoretically believe it, but you're not believing it right in your core. And I understand that healing takes time, and things do take time. And some of this emotional stuff will take time. But you're still heading in the right direction. You've just got to start to believe it. Let's see some colour power energy for you. What could help you in this, pile 3? Sage, alchemy, solutions, wisdom. Yeah, see, you are. This is the thing. You know, with the High Priestess reversed, with Death reversed, with Sage, you actually do have a very strong alchemical sort of background. You are very spiritual. You do have the wisdom. Reconnecting with that. Reconnect with your energy around that. That will also help bring the victory that any of the green spectrum can bring you in the Kabbalah. But it also connects to your heart. But you are wiser. You are more spiritually adept than you are allowing yourself to believe at the moment. And Coral, refresh, rejuvenation, renewal. Yeah, there's something about getting out into nature. This is a softer version of worrying about how to sort of like survive in the world and so forth. And it's a softer version of the self-discipline. It's turning some of that energy and attraction of success and discipline towards that which will renew you. You know, getting out into nature, having a bit of a break, allowing yourself time out, reconnecting with your spiritual side. I'm also getting with alchemy there too. This is one of the sort of things alchemists, you know, whether literally doing alchemy or whether it's sort of something you brought in from other lives. The one tripping thing for that, I think, could be that it is the mixing of spirituality and science. I think you might be tilting too much towards the science and not believing enough in the spiritual for you. I think you probably believe other people can do it, and I think you believe it theoretically, but you're not necessarily believing it for you. So let's see what support from the 5D level we can get for you. Because I think that's the key. I think everything will shift once you reconnect back with your spiritual power and wisdom. So that's the kind of colour palette of the purples and the whites and the creams and those sort of colours. Empath. You are the harp of God's heavenly choir, multi-sensually, highly tuned being. Yes, you are. A lot of what is coming from your heart and connecting to your heart. See, if you actually remember how much you're an empath with other people and how much you can read a room and how much you know what's going on and how accurate you are, that might be the way through. That might be the guidance there, because you are meant to get to those realms. So all the purple sort of energy, you're meant to reconnect with that through, you know, telepathy, empathy, you know, connection to the divine. I think that might give you the clue once you remember how much you're able to do that, and maybe even that you've attracted a lot of emotional hyperbole to you because of that, and you're drawing a lot of that in, which is why you need to rejuvenate. But once you start to get that aha moment, you'll realize, actually, I'm manifesting this from my gifts. There's other things I could manifest from my gifts. Okay, to help you, let's get either modern goddesses or archetypes that could help you get to that higher order again, because I think it's again. I think you've done it, and just for some reason you're not focusing on it at the moment. The crone, yeah, wisdom, all this wisdom, you actually have it. You just doubt it in yourself, but reconnect with the crone. She knows what's up, and she'll help you sort of move in those realms and make those decisions. And Amaterasu. I always find it hard to pronounce her name. So she's kind of like a female sun goddess, so that shows what sort of energy. This is why the sort of like solar plexus chakra is important, is within you. But she retreated into a cave because many were frightened by her energy. So you may have actually had that. What might be going on, this might be a clue to all of it, is that you actually do have a lot of radiance. You shine brightly in the sort of yellow spectrum, but we're not seeing it because you've actually dimmed it and you've gone into a cave to protect yourself. Because she did that because people were jealous and they couldn't deal with it. But in the end, she came out and she shone brightly, and she didn't have to ask permission to shine. Neither do you. But I do think you need to reconnect with that. Okay, so let's get you some astrology and numerology energy, and then we're going to close out with a fashion industry icon to see what advice they have to give, because the fashion industry, if any, is very colour oriented. But firstly, some astrology and numerology type energy for you, pole 3. New moon. So this is, you are in retreat at the moment, I think, and this is, use that time to withdraw and connect and rejuvenate yourself and reflect, because then you'll realize what energy and understanding and spiritual ability you have, and that it doesn't need to feel so much like a crisis where you're protecting yourself all the time. Fixed. You can be a bit stubborn sometimes, pole 3, so be aware of that. But once you do really know and you stay fixed on what you do, then you will be able to achieve. You will be able to bring in the success and so forth. Don't doubt that. Mercury, how you communicate with others is going to be important. You can't just sort of lock yourself away forever. You can do it for a while, but you're going to have to come out and state what you want. And 8th house, yeah, and reconnect back to the occult and the spiritual, because you have a lot of wisdom. You know, you've got the crone archetype around you. Scorpio's energy, going to the depths, you know, really being prepared to own that kind of power and that kind of wisdom and that kind of alchemy, because you have it. It's just you've shut it off for some reason. And it could just be temporary, but it's actually the solution. If you've shut it off temporarily because you thought you had to because of the environment, it somehow is the solution, reopening that color palette for yourself. So for the final piece of advice, we're going to take a icon from the fashion oracle. So I don't know all that much about fashion, so I may or may not know the person that you get. That's not really the point. We just want to look at what advice they have for you. And it may be just humorous, in which case just have a bit of a laugh. But if it is profound or it says a message to it, then obviously take that as well. And you have Grace Kelly. Oh, wow. Okay, I know who Grace Kelly is. Very beautiful and very able to be in any environment at all, really. So you know, understand that poise and grace and so forth. She says, why not what if? Yeah, why not? You can do all of this. Don't get into the what if, which sort of makes you kind of reduce your light, you know, like, why not? She says, a woman must always look like a lady. So there may be something about the environment in where you have to appear a particular way. That's fine. You know, you understand your environment, work out what you need to do. And she says, who says you can't become a princess? Yeah, who says you can't attract everything that you want? You actually can. You've got the sort of power of Amaterasu and the wisdom of the crone around you. You're an empath, so you understand the environment that you're in and you know how to present yourself. So don't underestimate what you can achieve. And don't cut off your spiritual knowing, because it's profound. So I hope that helped, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.